What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Game Time Discussions. I'm Emery Cuzzy. I'm sitting here with Cameron Selby, and we are doing the Week 16 Saturday special. Two games on tap. We're going to do both showdowns for the KC and Houston game, and we're going to do Baltimore-Pittsburgh, so both sides. And then also we're going to do the two-gamer because why not do an awesome primetime slate this week? But yeah, we'll get into it.
Yeah, this one's going to be a whole lot of fun. And on top of that, we're going to be talking about these four teams a lot because these four teams are going to meet in different matchups on Christmas. And we're going to have a Christmas special as well with Houston playing Baltimore, Kansas City playing Pittsburgh.
Right.
And that's going to be Wednesday, so we'll be recording that, I believe, Monday. But yeah, we'll be talking about that a lot. But we're going to break down the showdowns first, and then we're going to get into the two-game slate. Should be a whole lot of fun. Should be similarities with the plays and what have you. But we're going to start with the Kansas City and Houston game, that is starting at 12 o'clock on Saturday.
All right. So you can see it up here on the board now. We're going to talk about the Houston side of the game first because they are the away team. That is going to include, let me get it to flex, receiver-wise, Nico Collins, excuse me, Tank Dell are the top two, and then you have to go all the way down here to Dalton Schultz. Not sure which third receiver you want to talk about, but Robert Woods is showing the highest RotoWire value at the moment. And then, of course, you have John Mechie, who's got a Q tag, and then Kate Stover, who I believe is going to be out. I don't know how he's got a Q tag here.
So right now, all of them are pretty underpriced based on their snaps, especially Robert Woods. He played 48% of the snaps this past week, coming off the bye, and he's $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing a last guy in and you're trying to spend up top, that is the clear-cut guy to go to. And then if you're talking about John Mechie, for what it's worth, $2,800, way more expensive, but he still played a respectable 42%. And then right before the bye, that was where he had a 5-game stretch where he had 60+% of the snaps, and he had 70% one, and then right around 50 in week 13. So he's been the more consistent in terms of snap share. That's why his price is reflecting. He's had 4 of the last 5 games with at least 3 targets. Obviously, over the last 3 games, there's nothing exciting from that, but at least he's getting opportunities to where one of these guys should return pretty solid value.
Yeah. I would rather just go down to $1,000 Robert Woods.
Yeah, click on his game log over the last couple because he really kind of came on into playing respectable snaps once Stephon Diggs went down, plus Nico Collins was out a couple more games until that happened. But being $1,000, having, what is that, 9 targets over the last 5 games, about 2 targets a game. Being $1,000, you just need 1 catch for 10 yards to feel great about it. And if you got more upside than that, then that's good enough for me.
Nope. And then talking about the guys that actually are going to be getting the bulk of the work, Nico Collins is $11,000, most expensive player on the slate. I think it's he deserves it. He's been awesome. He's one of the best per game players in the league, but at the same time, that's a lot of money. $11,000 is a lot of money, and you're going to have to pick between him and his teammate Joe Mixon. So looking at his game log, though, he is going to have the highest target share. He's going to have the highest yards and possibly the most touchdowns on the team through the air. So he is definitely a viable player if you think he is going to pop off. He has upside of 36 points even. So he's always a good play.
Yeah, he's always a good play. And then even in the down games, like you saw last week, he only had 17 yards, but he caught 2 touchdowns. So he still is consistently getting 15-plus point floors basically every game other than the Dallas game, which, again, he had first play of the game, 75-yard touchdown. That was also his first game back. That catch for a touchdown was called back, and then they were just dominating, and they didn't really need him that much. And that has been his one dud since he's returned. So, yeah, he is safe and away the best option, and that's why he is so expensive.
And then Tank Dell is number 2. He has had some inconsistencies. Obviously, you can see he's been trending in the wrong direction recently. 9 targets, 7, 5, 4, 2. But we have seen him with good upside. He has 2 touchdowns on the year, positive touchdown regression here, hopefully, if you are going to play him. So at 6,600, which is kind of a pretty penny, especially because, or is the opposite, because he was 8,800, 8,400 with Nico down. So with Nico back, he hasn't been nearly as good. So we'll see what happens here.
Because we do a lot of best ball and we don't do like other people do where we just get shares of everybody and just crisscross our fingers hoping things work out. We take actual stands. He might be our best stand of the year in terms of guys we did not invest in up top, being 0% owned and just feeling even better about it, knowing that Nico and Stephon Diggs both missed significant time and he still has not panned out. Just is very, very telling because he was rivaling Stephon Diggs as a late third-round pick and trended towards passing him up at the very late stages of the summer. He just is not working out, and a lot of that has to do with C.J. Stroud regressing as well. So it's not just on him, but yeah, he just has not played well. He hasn't performed well. He's had one elite game, and that was against the Jets in a losing effort. But other than that, he's barely getting a 10-point ceiling on certain games, which is just not what you want to see. His price is cheap enough to where he's at least in the pool. But yeah, he's just really tough to have a confident investment in.
Yeah, I think the 6,600 makes him reasonable if you want to play him, but he is more of a tournament play in my opinion than anything in this situation. Sure. And then Dalton Schultz is the number one tight end. He's the other guy we'll talk about real quick. He has had actually better consistency of target share than even Tank Dell up to this point recently. And he just has to, his biggest thing is he has to get in the end zone to pay off, but he's $4,000. It's a reasonable price for someone that has some upside of 17 points and will be on the field constantly. I believe he's 94% last week. So
that was a season, or not a season best, but the best since week 5 for him. But one thing that was interesting, at least from the tight end perspective as a whole, Cade Stover has been the tight end too, basically the entire season. And he's been north of 40% of the snaps basically every single game since week 5. And he didn't play last week. It was Irv Smith that played.
It's because he had appendicitis.
Yes. Yeah. So obviously being on a day early but a short week, unknown if he'll even be available for that.
I'd be so surprised.
Exactly. So with that being said, Irv Smith being $600, he did play 46% of the snaps in his second game as a part of the team. He didn't get a target, but $600 is $600, and we need to afford some guys up top. So
right, for sure.
Same reasoning as investing in Robert Woods. Cheap guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get you a catch in there.
He's also a receiving threat. That is his bread and butter. He doesn't do anything else. All he does is catch the ball if he's going to do anything. So that makes a lot of sense for Irv Smith to be in the player pool. But then going over to the running back situation here, it's Joe Mixon.
Yes.
And that's it. And Joe Mixon has been awesome. So, like I said, he's 10-8. You had 11,000 Nico Collins. I kind of lean going with Joe Mixon over Nico because of the fact that he has such a high floor consistently because he's getting, he was getting 20 touches a game for, look at this, 4-game stretch, 5 games before this last one where he had 20 touches out of the 6. I'm more confident in him to have the floor, and he's getting the pass game work. In the last 3 games, he's had 6 targets.
Go back real quick to the at a glance tab for him, the first tab. What's interesting to me, if you look at it, the home games, he's averaging 2.6 yards a carry. Mm-hmm. Away games, he's averaging 5.2 yards a carry. This is an away game. And on top of that, they were at least a favorite before knowing we received word basically on my drive over here that Patrick Mahomes is actually going to play on his ankle injury, not going to be Carson Wentz. So there was a 5-point swing in terms of the spread on this game. So now Kansas City is favored. But still, Joe Mixon would be a 5-box running back if he wasn't at home. Thing is, it's a really, really tough matchup. So, but the thing is, there is a lot of cheap options, at least down low, to where you don't have to make a decision on Nico versus Joe, which is a very nice thing to see.
Yeah, for sure. And then, okay, we're done with Houston because that's the only guy I want to talk about in the running game.
Right.
Sorry, Damien. You're way down there, and you need to stay down there. But going to the KC side of the game, we're going to look at the receiving options. There's a few players that we get to talk about, Travis Kelce being one. They actually did price up Carson Wentz. Thank God if that would have been the other way around. Mm-hmm. DeAndre Hopkins, Xavier Worthy, Juju. Throw him in there. We'll throw Noah Gray in there. And I'll throw Justin Watson in there for why not. These are the guys that are going to be on the field. Some of them are going to be running wind sprints, Justin Watson. But otherwise, all of these guys have had upside. I think Juju actually scored the touchdown last week. On one catch, he had 7 yards and a touchdown. So if you think he can do that again, he's a dart throw. But really, it comes down to Travis Kelce, DeAndre Hopkins, Xavier Worthy, and Noah Gray has just been so good. So
I'm very glad about your tournament play, which I don't even know if he deserves to be a tournament play. But Noah Gray is my favorite Kansas City skill player to play.
yeah, price wise,
it's not even just price.
Crazy.
It's not even just price. It's him being over 55% of the snaps in every single week since week 4. And it's on top of that, he's getting at least 5 looks every single week. And on top of that, there's multi-touchdown upside. There's multiple red zone looks in this span. So at first, when it was week 11, he scored 2 touchdowns, and then there was a game against Carolina, 2 touchdowns again, and we were like, we're not. We had the Black Friday Showdown special that we had against the Raiders, and we're like, back-to-back 2 touchdown games. There's some regression coming, but it's just like, well, no, he's still going to play 60% of the snaps, and he goes 4 for 58 because he's really cheap at 36, and his price is cheaper than when that game was. I don't get it whatsoever why he has not been priced up, but right now there's nobody safer than him, and him being 3,200 is just a free click to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. He'll be in every lineup, and that's, he's just too cheap. Travis Kelce is the other tight end on this team who is, most known for his ability as a pass catcher. He has been meh, to say the least. I guess the fact that he came into the year being a top 3 tight end and has not looked like it. He's 4 for 27, 5 for 45, just been okay. But price wise, he makes a lot of sense at 8,600. He just needs to score touchdowns, and I'd expect him to actually get the positive regression on touchdowns because he's only had 2, while Noah's had 7 ridiculous amounts of touchdowns. So,
I mean, that just kind of is the layer of the land. He's going to project really well. Right now, I think he's the highest value, at least of the guys up top. He's showing 1.8x compared to everybody else, which, far and away, the highest value up top. 8,600 just feels too cheap. But the thing is, he has had a lot of duds, so it's warranted. There is more risk now. For the first time that I can remember playing Travis Kelce, there is risk baked in with it, and the price is showing that. But he's got multiple 13-plus target games that Kansas City's not running away with this AFC. And, Buffalo has the tiebreaker on them. They do have a 2-game buffer, but they need to win one of these next 3. And I don't know which game is the for sure lock because, Kansas City, Houston, Pittsburgh, and Denver are all formidable. They're all in the playoffs right now. So they're probably going to win at least one of these games, but that's probably why Patrick Mahomes is toughing it out. And with that being said, he's going to be relying a lot on these quick outlets, and that's just his go-to guy. So he's worth mentioning. And then Xavier Worthy at least had double-digit targets this past week, which was a positive sight. He had a screen for a touchdown that ended up being a rushing touchdown at the very end of the day, but 19.6 fantasy points, very, very strong. That might be his season high of the year, except for week 1 where he had 2 touchdowns on his 4 touches. But at least week 1, what a call that was. But at least he's had 4 straight games where he's had at least 7 opportunities in 4 straight games. He actually had 14 opportunities this past week, which is by far a season high. So him being 7,000, his price hasn't really moved on Showdown slates in a long time. I think he's in the player pool pretty strongly, but more so as the last guy in than a core play.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about him in a little bit. But yeah, looking at the running back situation over here, I am not as confident on this side because Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt are still splitting snaps pretty evenly, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
Isaiah Pacheco is just still has not
37
exceeded
both
40% of the snaps since he's returned. And on top of that, he hasn't been efficient. And I did misspeak. He did go 46% of the snaps 2 weeks ago. But still, he has not had a breakout game or a boom game or an efficient-looking game since he's returned. He's straight up back to being in a committee, and I think it's going to stay that way at least through the regular season. I just can't pay $8,000 for him.
And I can't. I'm actually more comfortable paying for Kareem Hunt. He was almost my tournament play. Was Kareem Hunt? It's just Noah Gray is too cheap. That's why he's our tournament play.
Right. But then with Kareem Hunt, at least he has touch volume upside.
Right.
He hasn't really been getting consistent usage in the pass game, and since he's returned, all 3 games below 6 fantasy points, and obviously his price is reduced because he is now the RB2 or 1B in that offense, but at least snap wise, he's still also below 40% of the snaps. So all of these options, and on top of that, Houston is much worse against not much worse against the pass. They're
Right.
much worse against big play threats than they are against the run game and the short stuff. So Kareem Hunt's not really one of those guys that has those boom upside or explosive plays. So that's kind of why it's tough to get to him as well.
Yeah, but his price is a little bit cleaner than
reasonable.
an Isaiah Pacheco. Now let's build some lines actually, tell me your game script real quick and tell me what you think of this game.
So I had this game. I actually was going to pick Kansas City regardless in this game, even if Carson Wentz played. I really was interested in Kansas City as a home dog, but 20-17, it looks like you have a similar score as well.
Same score, yeah.
But it's just Houston has not really played well in the big games, at least other than upsetting Buffalo way early in the season when they were not playing their best ball. But at the same time, I just think Kansas City, this isn't the team that's going to beat them or knock them off in any way. Maybe they limit them, and it's another ugly, grinded-out game that we've seen accustomed, and fantasy-wise, that maybe make it a more frustrating showdown. But I just have a lot of confidence in Kansas City pulling this game off.
Yeah, I also have 2017, both taking the under in this game. I wrote clash of mediocre play and division winners. Both of them have been mediocre. Both of them are going to win the division.
Well,
it is what it is.
With Houston, there's been inconsistency with a lot of the ways that they've been playing, and then they've also been barely beating bad teams.
Yeah.
With Kansas City, they're just winning every game other than the Buffalo game, and they're winning in different, unique ways. And, maybe there's some negative regression coming for them, winning on double doink field goals and block field goals and game-winning field goals, and they're basically finding every which way to win a game. But I don't think this is the opponent to do it.
Yeah, I think I wrote that this is a much bigger game for Houston, but
Yes.
KC is just going to win it. I think there's a bunch of ways to build lineups, though, and I think that there's almost every player on the slate is an option, including defenses. Both defenses are in play, so I think that's fun and interesting. But my must play is going to be Joe Mixon. I'm picking him over Nico if I had to pick between the two. One of them has to be your must play unless you're of course going to say like a really cheap guy. You could have said Noah Gray, of course, but that's kind of cheating. And then for you, it looks like you had Travis Kelce, but I don't know how confident you were in that.
Yeah, so Travis Kelce, it's a little more risky, but again, I think I don't know. It's he's had more boom than any other player in this offense, but he just has also his floor has just for the first time been low in his career with Patrick Mahomes. So there is risk baked into the price, but I think him being a captain viable thing is what will open up some things. So that's kind of why I ended up putting him as a must play.
Yeah, and I'm going to be fading Xavier Worthy. We just talked about him a little bit. I think that there is going to be regression, and he has $7,000. I think you can go other places. And then you have C.J. Stroud at $10,000. That's a lot of money for a guy that has not been playing well, so I understand that one too. Mm-hmm. But let's get to a line. I already built my line, so I'll start first. I'm actually going to pick your must play to be my captain. My first look kind of went all over the place. Originally, I had something else, and I was like, no, I want to put both of these top guys in Joe Mixon and Nico. And then we're going to have to go grab, of course, our Noah Gray because he's just too cheap. He makes everything okay.
We're the same line again, aren't we?
I don't know. Are we?
No, we're not actually. But
Close?
Very close.
Okay. So this is my first line. I have Travis Kelce with Patrick. I have the double tight end for KC. It's great. If you haven't played the double tight end for KC, it works like the double running back for Detroit. And then I have the best players from Houston and my dart throw, Robert Woods.
So I'm actually I like the build better this way. So I'm actually going to fade your must play in my first look. Same captain and then the same other four, but instead of Joe Mixon and Robert Woods, I'm going to go up to Xavier Worthy at 7,000 to get some more correlation with Kansas City. And then also I'm going to, as the last man in, go with Kyrie Fairbairn. I know I did say 20-17, but let's just cross my fingers and say maybe it's 16 instead and he gets 3 field goals.
Fair.
Because you look at his game log, every single game since week 4, he's had at least 9 fantasy points.
Yeah, he's solid.
So as long as it's fair weather, he basically gets more field goal attempts than any other person, and I don't think He's had a couple misses in there, but basically he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games since week 4 where he's had at least 3 field goal attempts. So that's kind of why I wanted to ride with him instead of Harrison Butker, who missed his only field goal attempt in Cleveland. Granted, there were some wins, but also first came back from a knee injury, and also it sounds like there's still kind of some lingering effects because he is kind of landing and planting very differently than we're accustomed to seeing.
Right.
So he's the much safer kicker to me, and I like the safety of this lineup a little bit more.
You'd pick Nico. So you're saying you'd go Nico over Joe Mixon?
Yes.
Okay. So then this is Cam's first look. And then what we'll do is we're going to get on to the next showdown.
Yeah.
We appreciate y'all hanging out with us. We're going to have, of course, this video. And we also did a Thursday Night Football video for the Chargers and the Denver Broncos game. And then we're going to have Maine coming up for Sunday, live stream on Sunday. Lots of bowl games going on. We're going to have me and Dustin are probably going to do some sort of playoff bowl game talk just to go back over everything because it's just such a fun time of the year. So very excited.
Yeah. Only 2 more regular season live streams on Sunday the rest of the year. Week 18, we will not do a live stream, but we will play lines and do a first look and video. But there is no showdown that week because all games are on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And then playoffs, we still haven't decided how we're going to approach doing it, but we're going to do a live stream probably on the Saturday. But if we end up not being able to do schedule conflicts, then we'll just put out a first look for mains and then some showdowns and stuff like that. But regardless, a lot of content to look forward to and post. And then also we're coming up on our 1-year reflection period. It's been a whole lot of fun, been a great ride so far, and I'm just excited to keep on expanding and growing this community.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about, honestly. I mean, this football never ends. We act like it does. I mean, of course, it ends. Super Bowl's in February, and then you have to wait till September. But we don't end because we have the draft, and then we're going to have other things going on.
Too early stuff.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten into the entertainment of games. We haven't started doing interviews with people.
Yeah.
All those kinds of various videos and things are stuff that are on tap. And so as soon as the season ends, there is no, we're going to take a month off and figure it out. No, we're going to come out with 3 to 5 videos basically every single week all year round as long as our schedule allows us to do so.
Right.
That's the only way we're going to get bigger and grow and get well known. So that's what I'm excited to do.
Yep. So we appreciate y'all hanging out with us, and we'll see y'all on the next one.